receive. So without a doubt, asking is the portion of resource development that is the most vexing for people who are involved. It's the reason why when people hear we're involved in fundraising, they get a little bit nervous and a little bit anxious. I'm going to let you in on a secret, which is that asking is the best part. And hopefully after this Quickenar, after looking over some of the documents that are provided, you and your board members will agree that asking is really the joy of the whole process. So we're going to just talk about a few tips, strategies, and things to keep in mind when you are involved in a solicitation or an ask. The first, and I think one of the most important, is remembering that asking is a privilege. It really is a very special privilege afforded to us as nonprofit professionals to get to talk to donors about their legacy, their impact, how they wish to use their own dollars to invest in change. And it's a really special part of being brought into that donor's life that we get to be the people who facilitate that for them. So it really is a privilege. It's really something wonderful to be involved in. And I think that that helps us to recast the way that we think about the ask. The next point is that the ask is not about you. And when you have anxiety and trepidation about doing an ask, maybe you're asking for a lot of money. Maybe it's an ask that's really important to you because you really need that money. Maybe it's an ask that is particularly daunting because this person has never made a major gift. It's easy to focus on how we're afraid of being rejected, or how we're afraid of failing, or how this is embarrassing or awkward. But just remember that the ask isn't really about you. It's about two things, the kids and the donor. And when you focus on the fact that what you're really doing is matchmaking between the work that you do, the outcomes that you accrue, and donors who wish to support that work and to support those outcomes, you see that it's really not about you and it's not about your anxiety. And so when you go in, you may have to kind of fake it till you make it. That means focusing on the donor instead of on your own anxiety, focusing on all the good you can do for the kids instead of how worried you are about them saying no. It means smiling, nodding, being really present and open in the interaction, sitting with your arms uncrossed, sitting up straight, looking cheerful and enthusiastic and pleasant rather than nervous. Because if you're nervous, you'll make your donor nervous. But your enthusiasm and your joy and your confidence will be contagious. So it's not about you. And remember, since it's not about you, you can't say no for a donor. I am positive that everyone on this Quickenar believes, as I do, that there is no more important work going on in the United States than the work that we do at the Boys and Girls Clubs. There's no more important work going on worldwide. There's no more important nonprofit mission than ours. And so when you talk to a donor, you give them a chance to be a part of something that is absolutely changing lives, that is literally changing the course of our future. And why would you want to take away the opportunity for someone to be a part of that? When you decide not to make an ask, or when you decide to cop out and send a letter instead of having a conversation, you're saying no for a donor, and you're taking away what for them will be a life-changing opportunity. So every time you're thinking about not picking up the phone to try to get that appointment, remember that you can't say no for a donor. Next, I firmly believe that there should be no cold ask. The cold ask is yucky. The cold ask means picking up the phone and basically telemarketing. The cold ask means talking to someone where you have no idea whether they're going to say yes or no, where they have no relationship to the club at all, and asking them for a gift. And this closely relates to the next slide. Before you ask, so that you don't have any cold asks, there are certain things that you need to be sure you do. You need to build a relationship between the donor and your club, between the donor and your mission. They need to know what you do, what you stand for, and how you can help them to achieve their own charitable goals. Before you ask, be sure that you know your donor. Know what they're interested in. Know why this would be a good opportunity for them. Know how to build a connection between that donor and the club so that when you are asking, this is someone who already cares about your mission, who already trusts you, who already believes that this would be a worthwhile investment that would enable them to make change for kids. And of course, those things will be easy to illustrate. You just have to do that before you ask. Sometimes what will happen is we will move straight from identifying someone as a good potential donor to asking them for a gift instead of identifying them, cultivating them, and then asking them. Because we tend to confuse wealth with generosity, we'll identify someone who has the capability to make a gift and go straight into asking them for support, when that's either going to result in a no or result in a very, very small gift. So knowing the donor before you ask is critical to getting a yes. Also critical is making sure to plan your ask. I was once in a very awkward ask situation with another board member, and rather than actually asking, would you be willing to make an investment of X, Y, or Z, what this person said was, and we're trying to raise $25,000 for this program. Do you know anyone who could make that kind of a gift? And so it wasn't a very straightforward ask, and the donor said, no, I can't think of anyone. Rather than a nice, straightforward ask, would you be willing to make an investment? So plan the ask ahead of time. There is a handout that you can download after the webinar's over that lets you sort of script what you're going to do. Who's going? How much will you ask for? What will that gift go to? What are you going to visit with the donor about before you ask them for a gift? Who will do the actual asking? What will they say? What questions do you anticipate? So that when you sit down and you start to get a little anxious about the fact that you're about to talk about $25,000 or $500,000, when you start to get a little nervous about asking for money, or when your board member does, you can relax because you know that you've planned what's going to happen. This will keep you from making mistakes, it'll keep you focused on the donor, and it'll help you to feel a lot more confident in what you're doing. Bring someone along with you and plan with them as well. Sometimes it's hard to decide exactly how you're going to word your ask. There's a handout you can download after the Quickenar that will help you with some sample ways to word the ask. But different clubs and different board members and different RD professionals have different ways of saying this. These are a few that I really like. I like the will you join me in making a gift ask, because it says that I'm not asking you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. This is particularly effective for board members. Would you consider? I like would you consider as an option, because then what you're doing is sort of a pre-ask. You're asking them if they would be interested in a proposal or if they would consider a gift. So what they're saying no to is the consideration rather than the gift itself. What they're saying no to is being presented a proposal rather than saying no to the gift itself. And it's just a little bit of a soft ask that can make you feel better. When someone says they would be interested in a proposal, you know they'll probably say yes, and you just have to negotiate the amount. So that's a great tool for you. It also prevents you from putting together proposals when someone isn't going to make a gift. I like using the word investment rather than a gift sometimes, particularly with business people. It shows that we're going to give them a return on investment and that they are investing in the future. And then lastly, mentioning why you give to the club. Your next guideline is only ask face-to-face, not on email, not on the phone. Don't send major prospects a letter. Don't Snapchat them. Ask them face-to-face if you want to get a significant gift. If you're looking for 5 or 10 or 25 bucks, sure, a letter is fine. But if you're looking for a gift of any significance, only ask face-to-face. Be specific. So have an exciting idea with your enthusiastic and positive outlook, and ask for a specific dollar amount for a particular purpose. So would you be willing to consider a gift of $5,000 to support our operating expenses? That's nice and specific. It's something the donor can consider and hold on to. When we simply ask for a gift, we're basically under asking, and we're really likely to only get 50 bucks, 100 bucks. I mean, after all, you did just say a gift, right? Next, shut up. You should only talk about 25% of the time in an ask visit. You really need to be listening to what the donor is saying. You need to be focusing on them, asking them questions, letting them talk, drawing them out, and you have to shut up. But even more importantly, once you ask, you can't say anything else. After all, you've just asked someone for a significant investment. They need a minute to think about it. Do they want to do it? Do they not want to do it? Is this in line with what they're hoping to accomplish? They need a minute to consider what you've asked. What will happen is, because we're nervous, we will ask, would you be willing to consider an investment of $5,000 to support our Healthy Lifestyles program? And then, if the donor doesn't immediately answer, which they probably won't, we'll say, $2,500 would be great, or $1,500. I mean, really anything. We would love anything you'd be willing to give us. So in just that short span of time, I've gone from $5,000 to maybe $50,000. If I would shut up, they might have a chance to think about it and then get back to you. I've been there. It's agonizing. But I will tell you that when the donor stops to really consider, you're getting a little closer to yes. Speaking of yes, big reason why we worry about no's, about asking, is because we're worried about no's. And it's important to keep in mind that no doesn't always mean no, never. It doesn't mean I don't like kids, I don't believe in the club, and I never want to talk to you again. A lot of times it means not at this time. This isn't a good time for me or for my family. Perhaps there's something else going on. Not this project. You haven't quite gotten at what I'd like to support, but keep working with me, and eventually you'll get to yes. It might mean not till I know I can trust you. You've asked a little bit too soon. We haven't built quite enough of a relationship, but I'm still interested in the club. Not till I ask some more questions. I need to know some things. Can you find some things out with me? And that's great because you have a chance to really dialogue and, again, continue to build that relationship. Not till I talk to my family. Your donor is probably not the only decision maker involved. They may need a little while to visit with their spouse or with their kids. No can also mean not this amount. This isn't quite the right proposal for me, but keep working and we'll figure it out. And as you're planning for your ask, one of the things you should plan for are, what are some possible objections and how would they answer them? What are some questions and what are the answers to those questions? That way they won't throw you off and you'll have the chance to answer them well, follow up effectively, and find out, once you hear the no, is there any negotiation here? If they need to talk to their spouse, may we visit with your spouse? Could we talk to your kids? Could we present to your foundation board? If they need some questions, can I follow up with you in a week after I've answered these questions? If this isn't the right project, delve into what might be the right project. So no doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I wasted their time and I've got to get out of here. This is so mortifying. It just means you need to get some more information. And even when someone is giving you a firm no, I only support animal causes, for example, or we don't have any money, we're not doing any charitable giving, that can also be useful. If someone's never going to give to you ever, it means that you can stop having prospecting meetings about them and sending them letters and cultivation appointments and things, and spend your time on other people who will make a gift. Don't forget the most important thing about asking. Sometimes the answer is yes. So asking really is the best thing we get to do, because that's where those big gifts and that transformation for kids comes from. So when you've built a relationship to the point that you can ask, that's a really, really good thing. There are some documents that you can download now, because that is the end of our Quickenar. These include PowerPoint slides of what we've just talked about, a strategy sheet for planning your ask, a document on ways to phrase the ask, a great article that explains that if you really care about your donors, you'll ask them for money. And then lastly, 12 simple steps to making the ask, which reiterate some of the things that we've just talked about. I hope that you enjoyed the Quickenar. You can find all of those documents under the tab in your control panel that is labeled Handouts. I am going to stay online and answer any questions that you might have. So if you don't have any questions, feel free to download those documents and close on out. If you have questions, please stay on the line. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Or if you'd rather talk privately, you can call me or you can email me, and I would be more than happy to help you, because asking is lots of fun and I hope you see it too. That concludes Ask and You Shall Receive. I think those simple steps set you up for success, and I wish you all the very best luck in seeking support.